Unscripted.
I've long said the biggest reason to own a particular platform is obviously the games. When it comes to video games and the consoles themselves, the games are the most important thing. Like, you can have all this other stuff and it really doesn't matter because it really just comes down to the games. And I think that's what Sony gets that Microsoft doesn't really get. And while I do have hope and I have my fingers crossed that Microsoft is going to absolutely kill it in a few years' time, you have to get to that particular point. And how long are people going to stick around that have already waited, years and years to actually have something worthwhile to play and to start getting an influx of really good games? And that's, I think, going to be the biggest issue going forward for Microsoft. They're going to have so much to prove to people that I think that it's going to really cost them in the long run. Yeah, I understand that they aren't the type of company that is quote unquote relying on console sales and stuff like that. I totally understand that, and you know what? I think that a lot of that is kind of BS or a little bit. You know what I mean? But at the same time, I feel like if Microsoft actually acted like they wanted to kind of be in the running for stuff like that, if they actually wanted to, act like they wanted gamers on their platform, I think that they would be, fine. I think that people would maybe be a little bit more apt to go out there and kind of get it, get an Xbox, because I definitely don't feel wanted when you hear Phil say stuff like, oh, well, you know what, we don't even need anybody to buy our stuff. I definitely feel a little off put by that. But even with that being said, we do have some very interesting stuff. A very, very interesting bit of news came out from GDC, where they did a bit of a poll to see how developers' interest was and into what platform. And I felt like this was very cool and was something that was a little bit, unexpected, to say the least. So I think that these are very important kind of points when it comes to games, because we know for a fact that we want games for our consoles. So when developers are saying, hey, our favorite platform to work for on console wise is a PS5, and by a large margin, I think that really says everything you need to say. So as anyone who regularly visits any kind of gaming website, particularly this is WCCF Tech, gamers love to play favorites when it comes to platforms. But what are the folks about who actually make the games? Which platforms do developers prefer? Now, the Game Developers Conference puts the question to game makers every year, and this year, State of Game Industry poll has yielded some very interesting results. GDC asked around 3,000 developers which platforms most interest you as a developer right now. PC was the winner, getting the nod for 58%. Next up was PlayStation 5 at 44%, Nintendo Switch at 38%, and Xbox Series XS at 30%, and the general VR headsets at 27%. Down near the bottom of the list was Google Stadia with 6%. Of course, business is business, and interest doesn't always directly translate into development directions and decisions. When asked which platform they're currently making games for, 58% of the devs said PC, 32% iOS, 31% said Android, 27% said PS5, 24% said Xbox. So unsurprisingly, a lot of devs would like to be working on hot new hardware like the PS5, but may end up having to make small mobile games. Besides the old favorite platform questions, GDC's latest poll covers a variety of other subjects, such as whether the pandemic has contributed to game delays. 44% said it has. On the subject of crunch, 45% of devs said they work more than 40 hours a week, but only 4% said they work over 60 hours, and there is a full report. You can kind of check it out, kind of debunking some of this interesting conversation with a lot of these developers who and a lot of people with the misconceptions about a situation where they're doing a lot of crunch and working all these hours, working a little bit over 40 hours. I don't really consider that to be crunch. I mean, I think that's pretty much life at this point, right? Like, I don't know exactly what more to say about it, but yeah, what I basically take from this is that developers definitely want to work on the PS5. And again, if you really think about it, okay, and you're a developer, why wouldn't you want to go with the market leader? You're going to probably have your biggest chance at success with the PS5 and Sony in general, because they sell so many games. That's a proven fact, folks. That's not even some hearsay anymore, right? Maybe you guys missed it, but it came out that the PS4 is now the all-time leader in sales for console game sales, software sales, right? Like all time. Think about that. Okay, think about all the different games, and think about how many the PS2 games have sold, and how many PS2s have sold, and how many 360s and PS3s, and to think that the PS4 has now sold the most amount of software of anybody, any platform, any console. I think that's incredibly amazing to think about. And this is what I say all the time when people always try to bring up Xbox and what Xbox does and stuff like that. Listen, I think that's fine, but if people don't understand is, if you have a lot of consoles out, right? If you sell a lot of consoles, you're going to be able to sell more software, and you're going to be able to sell more services, right? So meanwhile, Microsoft is kind of pigeonholed themselves into just this, rental service that Game Pass is, right? And they're going to lose out on a lot of the big sales that they would normally get from their first party because of that. And when you look at what Sony is doing, Sony's able to really go out there and do a fantastic job of having, not only are they doing a good job with having this amazing kind of setup with, they have great games, and so that sells itself, but they also have a really good service in PlayStation Plus, and that has almost 50 million subscribers, so they get the benefit of both, like selling a crap ton of games and having a big subscription service that has a lot of users and members, obviously, and I think that is huge, and that's going to continue to be huge for them going forward. That's absolutely incredible to think about, and again, this is just something that I think a lot of people will obviously be talking about for a while. What does this mean? Does this mean that Xbox isn't going to get games? No, it just means that, developers really want to work with the winner. They really want to go out there and, kind of get with it and kind of work with a company like PlayStation and kind of get these things out there. Now, the interesting thing that I thought was the whole PC aspect of things and the whole VR type of things. It looks like developers really like working on the VR stuff as well, which I thought was pretty cool. I don't know how you guys feel about VR, but I'm a huge fan of it, and I just think that that's something that a lot of people probably haven't really taken a chance with yet, and I really hope that we do get more VR down the line. Obviously, we're going to get PSVR 2, but I would love for for these companies to actually be able to go out there and continue to do VR. I would love for Phil to kind of keep his word and do VR with the Xbox right now. I don't understand why they're not doing it. I just think that, especially considering, when they have so many studios anyway, and some of them are very familiar with VR, so I don't think that it would be a huge issue or a huge thing where they'd have to put everybody on it or whatever. So, yeah, so I think that would be fantastic, and I would love to hear you guys' thoughts and and opinions on this stuff. And I just honestly think that it makes so much sense for developers to want to work with this. I don't think this is so much of a knock on on Xbox or anything like that, as it is kind of a situation where where Microsoft has to kind of maybe step up and work on their relationships with some of the developers a little bit more. A lot of people thought that maybe Microsoft was having the better relationships with developers and stuff like that, and now we see that's not necessarily the case. But with that being said, let me know what you guys think. Sound off, rate, comment, subscribe. Thank you for watching. Have a fantastic day. Rack 'em up. Crapgamer out.
Unscripted.